Hi there. My name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. I'm going to take you on a journey all around the world where we're going to talk with business owners and business leaders about marketing trends and techniques that are going to help you stand out from your competition. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's jump in. Today is going to be an exciting day. I am talking with Aaron Montgomery. Aaron Montgomery is the co-founder of Our Success Group. Now, Our Success Group, he's going to tell us all about it, but I think it's a group a lot of us need to be part of, and you need to hear what other people are doing. Yeah. So without delay, hi, Aaron, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to talk about this. It's a passion area for me. So
Good. Yeah. Well, that's, if you're passionate about it, you want to talk to everyone about it.
That's right. That's it. And then we start a business, right? So
yes. And family is sick of hearing about it, so you might as well talk to other people about it.
Anybody that'll listen.
So tell us about Our Success Group and why you started it.
Yeah. So the industry that I'm in is the t-shirt printer industry. That's probably what most people would kind of closely equate it to. So, things that are printed, but then we get into other things like personalized products, like things like this. And so I've been in that industry for 22 years. Gosh, it makes me feel old when I say that. But so I've done all sorts of things in the industry, but I've mainly been on this side of selling equipment, selling software, selling supplies, kind of getting to service the small business owners that are out there. And for about 20 of those years I was doing that kind of thing. And for those 20 years, there was just always something nagging at me because while there's a steady flow of new business coming to our industry, it's pretty regular because there's a pretty low barrier of entry. But I also really kind of was feeling after 20 years of doing this, like, why am I not talking to the same people over and over again? Why is it always new people that I get to talk to? And hey, I love talking to new people, but I was curious about the ones that I got to work with before that we were able to, get them into a new piece of equipment or software, or whatever it was. And unfortunately, a lot of them just weren't in business anymore. Their websites were abandoned. There was this sea of unused equipment that was available. So leasing companies had a whole bunch of stuff that they were trying to get rid of because people had defaulted on their leases. And so I don't know, I make it sound like a pandemic, but there was plenty of that, right?
You're true. It's right, because I think Stephen Covey once reported that only 10% of companies make it to their 10th anniversary.
Yeah.
So all the businesses that start out there, they fail sometime between when they open to 10 years. And you can understand why.
Yeah, exactly. And so I got to see that kind of firsthand. It became real for me. And like I mentioned, we kind of got this low barrier of entry. Somebody that's listening to this probably either has a Cricut or has a neighbor that has a Cricut, that makes little vinyl decals and stuff like that. And so I was actually selling kind of the next step up from that. And so the investment, though, was still, you could be a business for about $1,000 to $2,000 in this equipment. And so all of these people came to it, right? We were getting, the last distributor I worked at, we were getting 30 new customers a day. And you would think that would make this like huge, massive customer list of repeat buyers, but that wasn't the case. The normal amount of business that we did kind of still stayed stagnant, even though we were getting 30 new customers a day. And so what happens is they want to be creative. They've maybe sold some stuff to their friends, but they had really no knowledge and maybe not a ton of either interest in kind of building a business foundation. It was the business side of it was like, I want to make cool stuff. And that's great. But
it's not going to pay the bills.
No, that's called a hobby. Yes. And while hobbies are great, something's got to pay for that hobby. So after 20 years of this, in January of 2020, I actually got together with a friend of mine who is a decorator, and he had
Mhm.
seen a lot of the same things, right? And he started out, and everybody was holding really tightly onto the information, and nobody was, people were
Sure.
talking down to people that, started with a little Cricut or something like that. And
Hmm.
we kind of said, just on a whim, like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could share some of the things that we've learned?
Yeah.
And yeah, so for some reason, that whim turned me to just walking away from all of that and starting this business. And it's been fantastic. And because what I discovered is that people really need all of these shiny objects that they were seeing. What they really needed to do was focus in on.
But
Yeah,
this is where you need to have actual business owners kind of, I don't know, kind of breaking that seal, breaking that, belief that
yeah,
it's not the end all.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of want to go up to them and just hug them and say, "Hey, I love you, but let's refocus here, right?" It's kind of a little bit of, while you're hugging them, give them a little shake, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you said, that's out there, right? Somebody the other day called it the bro marketing, right? It's like, oh, we're going to change the world, and
Yeah.
and that is not me. I'm more into I want to make this fun, right? I don't want to grind
Yeah.
myself to death. So, um, I just saw all of this happening. And so finally I took the leap and said, let's do this. Let's change this. And at the same time, I went through a training where I became certified as a success principles trainer. So
Wow.
that can cover all sorts of different things, but yes, it's this book by a gentleman named Jack
Oh,
Canfield, and that's
yes.
what it's based on. He's people know him as probably the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, but
Yes.
he's been a self-help type guy for 50 plus years. And just, I was really drawn to him. So at the same time, I got those credentials to be able to train people on the success principles. And what I started realizing is those success principles that people are using for, losing weight or just improving their lives
Yeah.
also do the exact same things that we need them to do inside of a business, right?
Right.
We need to have focus. We need to have a
Mm.
goal. We need to have that guiding light. We need to have a plan, and then we need to
Yes.
be able to take action and overcome our fears. And so all these things started like popping up. And so I kind of realized that if somebody goes out there and starts a business, they've got a passion. They've
Right.
got that passion already because they need that to start a business.
Right.
It's a little daunting at first, right?
Oh, very, very. But you're right. You know how many corporations I talk to where they don't even have a formal mission statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have a goal. And like you were just saying, that star, I call it my North Star. I tell people you've got to have those goals or objective as the North Star so
Yeah.
you know what path to take
Yeah. Yeah.
to get there.
Yeah. And I kind of noticed that, I get to work with a lot of small micro solopreneur type folks. And I, we talked a little bit, I think, about overwhelm and how there are so many things going on when you become a business, right? And so when you talk about that North Star, it's really important for small businesses and really anybody, because it takes away the difficulty of trying to make a decision.
Yes.
Because if you have that North Star, things come up and you have to make a decision about it. If you have to every time kind of go, okay, I got to figure the pros and the cons and
Yeah.
and go on and on and on. If you go, okay, here's the decision. I've got the North Star. Does it get me closer to the North Star?
Yes.
Do it.
Yes.
If it doesn't, I'm going to pass and move on to something else. So
Exactly. I heard someone refer to it, like your mission with your North Star as your lane.
yeah,
Stay in your lane. That gets you to where you want.
yeah,
But I have to say, as a business owner, and this is an issue I had to deal with early on, you want to work with everyone.
yes, you do.
And you want to do it all. And
Yes.
you just want to be successful. But what I found is if you dig deep as individuals, as business owners, figure out your why.
Yeah.
Why you're doing what you're doing.
Yep.
You get a strong enough why, and then do exactly what you just say. Keep sight of what that goal is so that you don't go off here and there, which again becomes overwhelming because now instead of staying on one path, you have 5 different paths going.
Yeah.
And how do you keep it all straight?
Exactly. Yeah, I always, and I will admit that I'm borrowing this quote, but I don't remember who from, and so I just use it as my own now. But we want to be all things to everybody,
Yes.
and we end up being nothing to no one. And
Yes. Good.
and so what that means to me is, like you said, we have to have some focus. And as a new business,
Mhm.
I'm 2 years in here, so I still have that new business smell going on in the
Yeah.
car, right?
Yeah.
And I get that sometimes. It's the squirrel or the shiny object or whatever people want to call that,
Right.
where, ooh, that looks fun. And but if once I've had that piece, right, for me, it's about providing resources. And so
Yes.
if it doesn't help me provide more resources to my community, then I pass on it. But if it
Right.
does, then I'm going, yeah, I'm all in. Let's try that. Let's try that. Let's try that. And so
Mhm.
it's been really cool to kind of figure that stuff out, from my own. And I've had my own businesses and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
from being able to do this in a place where not only am I creating my own business at the same time, I'm also, helping other people create their business at the same time. And it's been fun to watch, like I mentioned, you've got to have that passion to start.
Yes.
But what we need to do is we need to kind of stoke that passion a little bit. We need to help them build some momentum. We need to help them kind of throw some extra fuel on that fire by having the foundation, by having the right mindset.
Yes.
And that is where, success is a team sport. I don't care who you
Yeah.
are, what your business is, if you're doing it on your own in your basement, or if you're a, multi-million dollar,
Yeah.
multi-billion dollar corporation. It takes a team of people to get to where you want to go. And
Yeah.
so,
I
um,
totally, I totally agree. Our company has been around for 41 years.
nice. Wow.
And over the years, we have done this
Hmm.
because sometimes we lost sight of that mission and that goal. And when you're in a business for a while and we do business to business marketing,
Yeah.
sometimes that every day just gets mundane. And I have to tell you, where that breath of fresh air or the drive came is the purpose of trying to help others now.
Yeah.
Help other businesses learn from our mistake,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
staying focused and going after things, and then telling him, you don't have to do everything everyone out there is telling you to do.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important for people. We talked a little bit about, not wanting to be everything to everybody. And
Yes.
and I get it, right? Especially as a new business, or somebody that's trying to grow your business. It's like,
Yeah.
gosh, if I can get all this, right? But the reality is that actually, come on, I want it all. Yes. That's human nature.
Yes.
We want more abundance, right? And so
Yes.
um, but what ends up happening is the opposite does become true, because we don't. I don't know anybody, even the big companies, that have unlimited marketing dollars, or the reality of there are 24 hours in a day and everybody gets the same. And so if you don't have somehow a magic way to come up with more than 24 hours
Yeah.
and have this unlimited budget, you can't reach everybody.
Yeah.
You can't get above the noise. And so getting focused, like you said, having that North Star, but then taking another step further, also figuring out who your niche market is, and
Yes.
working with the right people that are right for your business. I get a lot
Yes.
of folks that I work with that tell me, oh, my area won't pay that for this or that kind of thing. It's like, well, then you just haven't found the right people yet.
Yeah.
Because if you need to make X amount of dollars to be profitable, then there is somebody out there willing to pay that amount. We use the example of when somebody tells me that, right, nobody in my area is willing to pay that. And I say,
Yeah.
well, does anybody in your area have a designer purse or a pair of Nike shoes?
Yeah.
Because the reality is they were willing to pay for that. And there are a lot cheaper options available to them. So you just have to figure out how to find those people that are willing to pay for what you do. And so I think
Right.
that kind of boils it down into why finding a niche and finding the right people is so important for businesses, to get away from that I need to be everything to everybody
Right.
space.
And I find when you specialize, and I once did a social post where I put Mel Gibson in Braveheart. And I said, are you brave enough to specialize? Because
Oh,
it is scary. I still, to this day, when I have to say no to someone, it's like,
it's a,
but I'm
yep, I
like,
hear you.
yeah, this isn't my wheelhouse. And what happens is, as much as I hate saying no, it is better for the client because they'll end up going to someone who has more expertise in the area. But also, I will be able to stay in my wheelhouse and work smarter than
Correct.
harder.
Yeah.
And I know early on in my career, I was just all over, I'm going to help you with your consumer product. I'm going to help you with your B2B product. And it was too much to do that. And so to specialize really helped us with that. And then Warren Buffett, I think he goes, the most valuable asset to everyone out there is time, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
So if any company can go and save an individual time, it's priceless.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. That's such a huge point that, time is, that really is it, right? Time is everything. We can create more money. We can create more resources in that way by, just the things that we do and stuff like that. So that's an abundant resource. We just have to work to get there. But like you said, that time is not an abundant resource. We have a limited amount of time. And so how do we create what we want in that time? And I love that idea of asking people, are you brave enough to specialize? Because that does become, I think that becomes a really important thing for people to realize, especially the work I get to do with people early on, because they go, well, I don't have a lot of business right now, so I have plenty of time to go out and try to get everybody in. And I always tell them, but the problem is you're going to spend all of your time being average, being in the middle, because when you specialize, you can then become the best in your space. And in that specialization, you might have other people that do things similarly, but you specialize in being you and what you do and what you love. And so I've got a quick story about a gentleman in my industry that I think is like a perfect example of this. His name's Brett Bowden. That part, he's a great guy. So look him up. I'm happy to connect you with him. But he started out as a screen printer, and if you were to say, what does a band guy look like, and then have a picture, his picture would be right there. He's like the epitome of a band guy. He just looks like he should be in a band, and he is.
Okay.
And so and that's why he started his business. He wanted to be able to help bands that were not the big name brand bands have merch and have all the cool stuff that the big bands had. And so he really focused on that, and that's all he did. Like, he just was the band guy. That's his message. Everything he talked about, everything he did was to become the best in his space, in his area. He's in Fort Worth, Texas. And what's happened for him is, because of his focus and because of his being able to become the best in that space, then other opportunities came in quicker than if he was trying to go get, oh, I want to go do sports stuff, I want to go do this. He actually became the printer for the Dallas Mavericks professional basketball team, because of the fact that they were looking for somebody that did a little more band, like they wanted to have that band feel. And then so they came to him for a project. He did such a great job for them on the project that they said, you know what, we're just going to use you for everything.
Nice.
And so I think that, to me, is like, if you can look at it that way, it's about just focusing in, being the best that you can. That's your message. That'll rise you to the top of your niche. And then other people are going to want to be part of that, because we love to be around people that are at the top. And and then, then once you get them in, then you can become whatever you want. So I see people's niche change and move because of the customers that they work with. But it doesn't happen by them going, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. It happens because they spent the time and effort to become the very best in their space.
And especially now with marketing, because so many people are out there with messages. If you want your company to stand out from your competition, you have to do it where you specialize, so that your content can reflect that specific area.
Correct.
Where if you and I just went out and said, oh, we can help you with your marketing, just like that, we're out there competing with everybody else who's doing marketing.
Correct.
But for you, you would do your subject line about print marketing or promotional marketing, where I would be more business to business marketing. And that puts us in our own little niche, where our marketing messages will resonate with the right people. And then, like you said, like your friend, our services will be valued and will rise to the top. And then that's when other business might come in.
Correct. And then the other part about that, to add on to that, is when you start doing that and you start specializing and being that best in your space,
Yeah.
then you are able to work with other people that are the best in their space. This opportunity to come on and chat with you here is a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
We might do some slightly similar things, but we're doing it completely different in our own niche, in our own way. And so, it makes sense for us to have this conversation together. Whereas if you were like, I'm just gonna, I need to be everything, then you're going to look at everybody as the competition. And in reality, you don't have any competition. You're your only competition. You
I
should try to
totally agree
partner.
with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
Partner with
everyone's
everybody you can.
right, because everyone's unique. And
Absolutely.
I think every business out there is unique for a different way. And people might be like, no, Donna, you know what? They do shoes, we do shoes. And I'm like, but no, your company, your brand has a different mission. It's the executives, the personality, which makes you unique.
Yep.
And companies need to go back and think about that, like what makes them unique.
Yes. Indeed.
And that's why your group is it's wonderful, our success group, because you're having these business owners give information that each one of them probably can feed off of.
Yep.
And
that's been like one of the coolest things that I've been able to see as we've built this, is that we do have, we've got about 50 members in our membership program right now. And from the outside looking in, you could go, well, those are 50 competitors, because we all decorate stuff, right? But that's not the way it works. These 50 people work together, provide each other with, and heck, we've even seen that a lot of them are now starting to do business together. One person specializes in a certain area. So when they get a call for something they don't specialize in, then they're going to work with the person over here, and vice versa. And it is a rising tide lifts all boats is another one. I've come up with all these crazy quotes that I keep saying, and I love it now. So I used to think it was hokey.
No, it's good. And that's a very good point, because I remember early on, back in the late 80s, things were held a little bit more closer to the chest. And it could be, we didn't have the internet back then, or maybe we did at the end of the 80s, but at the early part of the 80s, you didn't have the internet back then. There wasn't as much collaboration as there is now. And it's so important, especially because, marketing is evolving at warp speed. And every day we see new technology and tactics coming on. So how do you determine like what to use, what not to use as a company?
And this is where what we talked about at the start really comes into play, by having that understanding of, like you said, the North Star, and then what our values are, and then staying true to that. Like, because the reality is the information that we have at our fingertips today is incredible. I mean, and like you said, it's warp speed. I mean, oh, there it is. Like this 3x5 thing right here.
Yeah.
I've got all the information I could ever need right there, and we carry it around in our pockets. But the challenge becomes with this is that the information is so abundant, right? Facebook's got the billions of people on it. So, how do you get above that? How do you
decipher?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And because the reality is today's world is all about stealing people's attention. It's who can grab the attention. It's all about getting somebody's attention. And what happens is what we talked about at the beginning, right? It's this new shiny object. It's the latest and greatest. I mean, we can't go to the gym. We can't log on to Instagram or without seeing some expert adding their 2 cents, right? And I'm adding my 2 cents. So we're all sharing. And so what we do is we have to kind of go back to what it is that our values are, and what it is that, because just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. I mean, if you look at all the success stories out there, for every success story that does it this way, you can find somebody that did it the exact opposite way. Like Colonel Sanders, he started at 65. In the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, he started at 19. So you don't have to start young. You don't have to start old, right?
No, you're right. You're right.
You've got companies like Dollar Shave Club, who's all about social media. And then another company like Lush, who doesn't have social media at all, but yet both very successful.
I laugh because I went to HubSpot has their inbound conference up in Massachusetts. And this was a few years ago, but I went into one of the conferences and all of a sudden someone says, All you need is inbound marketing. And I sat there and I'm on the business to business side with expensive offers. And I'm like, no, inbound marketing is not going to work when it's a time sensitive offer. You
No.
need to have people in there right away. It's not going to work. But you're right. That's when a company has to sit back, again, keeping track of their niche and their goals and make sure everything that they're doing is right.
Yep.
And because marketing is all about testing, I'm a big proponent of go out small, test it, see how it's working.
Yep.
And what works, start going a little heavier.
Yep. Yep. And that's I mean, it's something like that is the way to do it, because that allows you to understand what's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And but then that goes back to making sure that we have those values, that North Star, that base of who we are as a company that we can lean on, because of the fact that, like you said, things go at warp speed now.
Yeah.
So you might test something today, and in a couple months, a year, 2 years, it might not work the same way. So that's where we have to rely a little bit back onto our values and go, okay, what's important to us? So I think the best way for me to explain this to people is just go get really clear on your why.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek and his book, Start With Why.
Yes. So am I. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And then Finding Your Why, I think, is a great book too. So you kind of, that's the second book, but really should have been the first, right? So
No, I don't. Yes.
So yeah, once you start clearly defining that, then you know what values you got, and then you can start setting some long-term goals that are also very specific and clear, and then you can figure out which quote unquote shiny object is going to work for you,
Right.
because it's going to align with that. What tactics are right for you. So if you're somebody that has value of real, true, deep, authentic relationships, then maybe social media is not really your jam necessarily. Like this,
Right.
How do you get people into a community? So
Yes.
looking at things like that, versus maybe you are value more about being able to share with as many people as you can and stuff like that.
Right.
So maybe you do want to go have a TikTok channel that's got millions of followers or
You want
whatever.
to start?
If you like dancing, go. No.
I hope my kids don't watch this. If they saw me do that, they would be mortified.
Hey, that's what we do as parents. Come on.
Yes, I agree. What you're saying is so important. And one thing I will say to companies, if you're starting out, to be very careful about is, like you said, going after those shining objects, because it's easy, like subscribe to Canva, subscribe to this, subscribe to that, subscribe to that. What you have to watch as a business is all those little subscription fees do add up.
That's right.
And then you've got to look back. If you did subscribe to them, are you using them? If you are not, get rid of them.
Yep. So what I do in that regard, this is every 6 months, I go through my finances in that regard, and just I go and cancel every subscription that I have over 6 months. And then what I find out is, okay, if I need that, right? Like, oh, I wanted to watch that show on such and such, or I needed to use this for my company. Then that's when I go, okay, well, now I'll resubscribe to that one. But to just kind of clear that out every 6, I don't clear out everything, because there are things that I know that I use every day, but the things that are kind of like, do I use this enough or not? And then, because what you find out is pretty soon, I wasn't actually using that as much as I thought, because I haven't gone and logged back into it since I canceled. So
yes, that's a very good tactic to use in 6 months to turn. And if there's ones that you're on the fence, cancel them and see if you then need them.
Yeah.
I did a similar thing when we redid our kitchen. I hate clutter. I'm kind of neurotic about it. So I shoved everything down in the basement. I only brought things back up into the kitchen as they were needed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Then after, like you said, after 3 or 4 months, I then gave it all to Goodwill.
That's perfect. That's
Don't
so awesome.
need it, but that's, yours is very good, because every 6 months you kind of do another review.
Yep.
And just like the things we were talking about, I tell clients to go over those every quarter. Look at that mission statement, make sure it's still spot on to what you think it is.
Yeah.
Make sure your why is the same,
Yep.
and that you're heading towards the goal. what I'll also say is what's important about having those things declared is make sure that everyone within your company, even freelancers or consultants, are aware of them.
Yep. That's a great point. Really great point. Yeah. It'll, like you said, that clutter, and regardless of where it's at, it will just keep growing until you actually do something with it. So yeah, the thing that you did with the kitchen stuff, I think is huge. I've like seen people do the same thing with like their closet.
Yeah.
The idea was take everything in your closet and put it in the corner. And if you didn't wear it during the season, if it doesn't go back up on the hanger, then it goes to Goodwill, right? So
great.
Yeah.
Well, my one last question for you would be, if you knew then what you know now, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I first and foremost probably go and all the things we just talked about, right? I think that I think we've covered a ton of stuff, right? I've chased the shiny objects, I've had the squirrel, I've just kind of winged it and all that other stuff. So let's start there. I was a stubborn kid, so maybe I wouldn't have listened to that at first. I had to experience all that. But the other part of it I think I would share with people is it probably has to do with fear and action. I think if we all stop and kind of really thought about it, everything that we want out of life and out of our businesses is just outside of our comfort zone, right? We have to make that call to the customer that we don't want to make. We have to get on and do a podcast or a live video or something like that. We have to have that hard conversation with a vendor, an employee, whatever, a customer. But we let fear stop us because we don't stop to learn what fear really is. And one of the cool things that I've learned through my success principle stuff is that fear is actually just an acronym. It stands for, if you're ready for this, fear, fantasized experience appearing real.
Ooh.
Fantasized experience appearing real. That's the acronym of fear. And what we're doing is we're just imagining the worst possible outcome of some action that we need to take. That's all that's happening, right? We have a fear of flying. Well, we're afraid that the plane is going to fall out of the sky, and right. But if we were instead to change that up and imagine the best possible outcome, like I would get on that plane and in 2 hours I would be at Disney World or be with my family, right? So if we take in that moment and then kind of understand that the fear is just a yield sign. It's a warning sign for us to kind of analyze, make sure that this is right. I've found when something shows up for fear for me now, it's like, oh yes, this is important, right? And so make sure you really give your best effort here. And so when you look at it that way and you start kind of analyzing, and then the other side of it is, regardless of the result of that action, if you're able to overcome that fear and take the action, you can't let that action dictate your momentum, right? You want to go in with like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Everything's going to go well. And then leave with just low attachment to the outcome. The outcome is only feedback. It's just gives you feedback on if it worked, amplify it. If it didn't work, let's try something new. And that becomes kind of like a flywheel scenario where you get into action, you start taking more action, and you start building that momentum. And pretty soon you're going to be taking all this action and it's going to feel easy now because you've built that momentum. So that's what I would probably tell my younger self, is to really stop putting so much stock in what others might think and worrying and letting fear get in the way, and just take all of those results as feedback and make adjustments as needed. So
that is excellent advice. And I was laughing at the beginning when you started to speak, because I thought to myself, okay, what was it? What would I tell my younger self? And I would have told myself to fail more.
That's awesome. Yeah.
By jumping outside your comfort zone. And my best example I could give to people is I joined Toastmasters 2 years ago.
Awesome.
Because I hated public speaking. I had to do it for my work. I had to give presentations to clients, but I hated the whole process, from when it got put on my calendar to doing it, to afterwards rethinking everything I said, thinking I didn't do it right. And now I am seeking out places to speak, like the podcast I started a year ago,
Yeah.
lecturing in church, and I'm not knocking over the pulpit. Yay!
Good for you. Yeah.
But because of that, the Toastmasters, it has opened up a whole new world with the speaking, just like this with you.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know you so much better because we're doing this interview today.
Yeah.
And I've had 30 something plus other guests where I've been able to build deeper relationships with people because I got over that fear
Yeah.
of public speaking and thinking that I had to be the best, that you couldn't start a podcast or interview you unless I was the best interviewee person out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just, you know what? Jump in. Like you said, just jump in, start doing those things outside your comfort zone, and you will be surprised at the momentum it takes on.
Yeah.
And it makes life exciting.
It does. It does. Yeah, I mentioned at the beginning, I'm not interested in all that hustle and grinding stuff. It sounds exhausting to me. I want to be excited. I want to have fun. I want to just live in this passion and be able to do that. And you can't do that if you don't get beyond your fears. And I get it, right? I mean, fears are not something that are just like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to choose to get beyond it. These are things that were, quote unquote, install in us from a very young age. And so it's just about finding what's that first little step that you can take. What's the, so joining Toastmasters, or, just picking up the phone to even say, I'm going to join Toastmasters. You don't even have to actually call Toastmasters yet, or just logging onto their website, right? That's the first step. That's action. And so doing any action that you can will start building momentum, as long as you continue to kind of, okay, let's just poke against that comfort zone every day, each and every day.
And congratulate yourself on every step you take. It's not that you turn around and you give the best speech of your life. Compliment yourself for picking up the phone and making that call.
Yeah, that's a great
point. Little steps you should encourage yourself, because you got to stop that head, like my head with the self-doubt sometimes. It could paralyze you.
Absolutely.
And that's not living. So if we can all get rid of all this stuff and start doing kind of what's in our heart to do, your business will be, it will succeed.
Yeah. And you talk about celebrating and congratulating yourself. Like I said, that'll get you a long way past those. We've got is an inner critic. What most people have is an inner critic, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't talk to anybody else the same way we talk to ourselves. No way. I can't even believe that somebody would talk to somebody else like we talk to ourselves. So how do we turn that inner critic into an inner coach? And your tip there about celebrating everything.
Yeah.
But then you've got to make that into, I was not very good at that. I did not. I was always able to pick out all the problems.
Yes.
But I didn't celebrate the successes. And my wife really helped me with this. We actually once a month, we get together once a week, but at the end of every month, part of our meeting that we have together each month is we list off the 20 to 30 things that we did the month prior, and we celebrate it, right? We share with each other, and we talk about how great that is and how big that is from each of our perspectives, and every single thing, all 25 things are a celebration. And it's been massively huge to move me into having an inner coach instead of an inner critic.
Yeah. Well, it's so important because you have that, and then you feel better about yourself and you're moving forward. And isn't that what we're all here for? We don't want to just do that mundane everyday work. It's to me, I think it's to inspire others. And this is why your group, our success group, is so good, is because you're all working together to inspire each other to be the best you can be.
Exactly.
And we all need that.
Yes. Thank you. That's awesome.
But I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation. I know we probably talked a lot longer than you thought. I'm sorry. I thought I only used 20 minutes of your time.
I could talk all day about this, so that's fine.
Well, then I'm the wrong person, because I am the same when it comes to business. I would love to help small businesses out to succeed. So thank you very much for coming on the show today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss our next episode. And in the meantime, if you'd like to talk to me, please feel free to send me an email to dpeterson@worldinnovators.com. Till next time, have a great day.